It is so weird to be home. It's like I'm in high school again, but like not at all, you know? It's like all the worst parts of high school, if that makes any sense, which means I'm like, you know, like staying in my room and listening to My Chemical Romance and wondering when I'm gonna get out of the house. But like now I'm an adult, you know? So it's like I can't be, you know, like an angsty teen. I'm a sad adult who's stuck at home.
Okay, so all of my classes are now completely online. We have Zoom lectures, like all the lectures are via Zoom, and some lectures were just pre-recorded videos that the teachers would do with their PowerPoints and everything, and we'd have to watch them on our own time.
The first class that I did virtually, I had my daughter, who is one of the students in this class, help me with some of the material. And so she did a wonderful job of really filming, very professional filming. I actually had a little clipboard. We could actually substitute in some of the slides and embed those in the video. And to be honest, it was by far the best and most professional video that I've had. The problem was it takes a lot of time. What I've done more recently is I've moved more towards the record feature on Zoom. So I just share my screen, I discuss my slides. There's a nice little picture of me up in the corner.
My graduation wasn't affected a lot. What happened was there was a class that I needed to take over an internship this summer that was the prereq for all my fall classes, and then those fall classes were prereqs for the next classes, and so on and so on. And so that was frustrating because I was like, oh, if I don't take this class, I'm going to have to go, and I'm going to be a year behind because the class in the fall isn't offered till next fall. And so that would put me off like a year. And luckily, I think the university has been super accommodating, and they're realizing that everybody's in the same situation and that there's nothing you can really do about it. And so as a result, they're going to offer the class that I needed online because so many people need it.
So this was really difficult for me because a lot of my classes were, it was a bit of a rough transition of doing it. I just didn't get the same information out of the courses that I would have otherwise. Like, for example, I was taking a class through the honors program called Biology and Letters, in which twice a week we would have in-class discussions, and we would, you know, like write papers and bring them to class. And with the online format, we couldn't really do class discussions, so I feel like I really missed out on the material, and I did poorly on the final because of that. Thankfully, I still passed.
Perhaps the hardest part, there's a few different difficulties in doing the class online. One of the problems is I'm thinking about the material for next week because I'm giving lectures on it next week while I'm in the middle of this week's material. And so when students are asking questions, oftentimes I find that I'm almost tempted to start telling them about things from the next week because those are the lectures that are actively in my mind.
My internet kept going out, which proved to be a really big issue at specific moments. For example, while I was taking an art history exam, my computer died, which resulted in the loss of my file for the test. And so I had to redo the test, but handwrite it instead, which was really difficult, and I did worse on that test as a result, which was difficult for me.
So for the most part, people are flexible, but it's been a hard transition, I can tell, for some of my professors who aren't super techie-oriented or who are frustrated that we're not getting through all the material on time, just things like that.
On the other hand, this did make it easier for some of my other classes, like the transition to online. For example, for my, I took a religion class, and that was, I was able to take that in a way so that instead of having to do like extremely complicated processes to turn in work, I just had to push submit, and that was it, which made me wonder, you know, why it couldn't be like that before, as well as I was able to watch the class and the lectures at any point in the day as long as I, you know, still watched them, which was really helpful, and I feel like it allowed me to do better in the course because of that. Similarly, like in my art history class, it was a lot easier because of Zoom, because as opposed to having two major tests, we split it up to many tests over time. So it was a bit easier for some of the classes.
The number one thing that all of us are worried about is the interaction between peers. One of the places where I do research is in the role of peer effects in educational processes. Part of the reason that Stanford is a good school is because they have good professors, but even more so, I think, is we have really good students. And we get those students in the same room and they start talking to each other and sharing ideas. And because of those synergies between the students, we actually produce a much better product than we might just get from good professors. And one of the hardest things that all of my colleagues have shared with me is they don't get those rich interactions in the online forum the same way they do when they actually have the in-person forums. So that's, I think, one of the big difficulties that's very common to all of us. Fortunately for me, my course material is much more kind of fits the mold of let's do a lecture, then let's discuss and apply. Some of my colleagues who have things that are a little bit less lecture based have really struggled in this new format.
So certain classes I would love to do online in the future, but other classes like Italian, where it's learning a new language, you have to interact with others, you have to have conversations and have people critique what you say. That doesn't work as well online because you're isolated. You need other people for classes like that.
I used to think, oh, I wonder if we'll ever transition to like completely online classes, because so many people started taking like maybe one online class a semester. But then after coronavirus, I was like, that can never happen. Like, I feel like we've learned how much we rely on that like in-person communication and how much it's really needed.